Welcome, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Start the Week with Wisdom. My name is Bridget Burns. I'm the Executive Director of the University Innovation Alliance.
And I'm Madeline St. Amour. I'm a reporter at Inside Higher Ed, and I cover community colleges and non-traditional students.
And each week I partner with a journalist to bring you a conversation with a sitting college president or chancellor to try and understand a bit more about their leadership style, how they're approaching this moment, and hopefully to give you a sense of optimism and purpose to start the week ahead. So this is Weekly Wisdom.
This week, we're delighted to bring you a conversation with a president with deep experience leading an institution through challenging circumstances, Compton College President and CEO, Keith Curry. Dr. Curry has led Compton College since 2017 and was recently tapped by California Governor Gavin Newsom to serve on the California Higher Education Recovery with Equity Task Force. Let's start by asking, how are you holding up, and can you share what you're thinking about as a campus leader this week?
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share some of my thoughts or my wisdom with some of my colleagues out there. I'm holding up very well. It feels good to be in my office today, to be able to interact with the staff that's on campus and to be a part of this conversation. So I'm holding up very well. It's different for me during COVID-19. My background and my history talks about me working at Compton College as the ball boy for the football team when I was 12 years old. And so now dealing with COVID-19 in this environment, I think about when I first started and how different it is for this campus as we deal with COVID-19, with all of our courses, majority of our courses being offered online, and some of our current technical education courses being offered on campus. So it's a different environment, but I've been adjusting very well.
That's great. Thank you. So can you share, I just want to follow up really quickly because if you're offering things online, can you share a little bit what it's like to, as a community college leader, to try and think through how you've offered the virtual student supports? How are you doing some of the stuff that's more of the soft touch for students right now?
So what's fascinating about this, and this is luck, right? Sometimes with leadership, people think, oh, it's because Dr. did this. Some of this stuff is just plain out luck. And I want to talk about the luck of the draw for Compton College. So in 2017, when we achieved accreditation, one of the things that we worked on as a follow-up to our accreditation visit was a quality-focused essay. And in that essay, we talked about distance education and how we need to build up our distance education program at our campus. From there, we were able to apply for $200,000 from the California Community College Chancellor's Office, the Institutional Effective Partnership Initiative, which provided us $200,000 to support our distance education program. And those fundings started in fall of 2019. And so we're able to have faculty and staff to help support our online education. Now, that did not happen. We would have been in some serious trouble once COVID-19 occurred. However, since we had those additional dollars, we had at least the infrastructure in place to be able to transition our courses from face-to-face, all of our courses from face-to-face to online. As we move forward on our campus to make these types of decisions, we're really looking at the essential worker programs for our campus is welding, our HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program. And so we had to move those programs on our campus, but we have to implement with social distancing. So that's been a challenge to do that. We have temperature checks being done. Students are required to do testing once per month, temperature checks daily, testing for COVID tests once per month. And then also they have to do a questionnaire every day as well. And so we had to adjust to these new procedures and protocols, but I feel good about it. But having to move everything online was a challenge. But without the additional support financially from California Community College Chancellor's Office, we would not be where we're at today. Regards to support services, again, luck. In our accreditation report, it talked about online student services. So our staff has been working over the last couple of years, but more importantly, in the month of February and March, we were able to move all of our student services online, where our staff are utilizing Cranium Cafe for counseling and also for our advisors as well. And so we're able to make that transition. And now we're trying to figure out the data from that to figure out how successful we have been utilizing online student support services.
That's great. I had not thought about the offering virtual, especially for essential work training. I'm so glad that you figured that out or even are in the process of doing it.
Yeah, but it's basically following our guidelines from the state of California and also for the county, but then also looking at our these programs and making sure we're able to do it correctly on our campus. But the key to this, though, and I read this in an article about University of California, San Diego, when they were talking about testing of their students, and so that got me involved in thinking about, okay, how can we test our students? How can we test our employees for COVID-19 prior to their return? And so we have a health center on our campus. So again, luck. We opened a health center in 2017, and we have a partnership with St. John's St. John's Medical Group. We were providing health services on our campus. So our health center is able to provide the testing for our employees and also for our students as well. So that's a luck. We never had a health center until 2017, but now we have that partnership. We're able to provide testing for our students and also our employees.
That's great. Madeline, did you want to? You're muted. Oh, you're still muted.
Sorry.
Right.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, what you think needs to be done by colleges or community colleges in particular to ensure that colleges don't lose ground in supporting low-income students or more vulnerable students who have been highly impacted by the pandemic.
So there's a couple things I think colleges need to do. But first, as we deal with COVID-19, is make sure that our faculty, staff, and our students are in a safe environment, and really talk about that. You want to make sure everyone is safe, and you're practicing social distancing. You're moving your courses online. You're providing courses for essential employees, for essential students, essential programs on your campus. But making sure people feel safe, but at the same time, not losing sight on the ultimate goal in regards to student success. And so for our campus, we've spent a lot of time the last couple years looking at our success rates of our students and our completion. And for us, completion is our number one objective. So we went through a revamp of our educational master plan, our facilities plan, our technology plan, our enrollment management plan, and also our human resources plan, where they're all called under Compton College 2024. And these are our planning documents for our institution. And our whole focus is based off of the completion by design research from the Gates Foundation and making sure our students are going through the 5 momentum points. And so when we look at COVID-19 and also our planning documents, our goal is to continue to implement the activities associated with our planning documents, even though we're in the COVID-19 and online environment. So a couple years ago, we looked at what's going on at Georgia State in regards to their completion. So we have implemented student services advisors who are responsible for following up with the students. Even last spring, they were able to send good positive messages to the students. As you know from research, it talks about we don't only contact students when there's something negative. So our student service advisors are contacting them when it's positive. We have restructured our academic divisions where we have guided pathways divisions. We have 5 of them, which each have a guided pathways counselor. So ensuring that these guided pathways divisions and our success teams that have been developed continue to work even through this environment. And so they're meeting through Zoom. And one thing I would say in this environment, we think about completion, we're able to have more meetings, more effective meetings, because more people are able to participate through Zoom. And so I'm really excited about the technology and things that I've learned over the last 6 months about how to engage more of our campus constituent groups in conversation about student completion, because now we can be able to utilize the Zoom function.
That's super helpful, and shout out to Georgia State. Thanks for that. I want to follow up, and can you share a bit about how you as a leader have had to shift your thinking about communicating in a crisis? Right now, everyone's needing to change how they engage folks on their campus so they feel like they're involved as things are rapidly changing. I'm just wondering how you have, if you've shifted how you communicate or what you've learned from communicating in a crisis.
I shifted. I have done a major shift, and I want to talk about that for a little bit. So previously, I had a president CEO newsletter that goes out once per month. I also do a message to the board of trustees once a month that includes different types of updates. Now I've changed that. So when COVID-19 hit and we were in the crisis mode, we went from doing monthly communications to every single day. We were doing a communication to the campus community, providing COVID-19 updates. And then in April, I shifted that update because we had to move from talking about COVID-19 to talking about the institution, how it could continue to move forward. So now I have updates going out every Monday and Thursday to the campus community regards to what's happening on campus, but also providing information about COVID-19. Those messages are also posted on the website. for the college. Then they're also posted on Twitter, Instagram, and also Facebook. So we also get it out to the community. So community has get a chance to see what's happening as well. And the board of trustees are also copied on the communication as well. So we are putting a lot more communication out to the campus community through the president CEO's newsletter, a message that I call it. And we also have a website for COVID-19 that includes not only the message that I sent out, also COVID-19 updates, and then also communication. So we post the information, every communication to the students. We have a student communication page where those communications are posted as well. And so we're getting the information out by email. We're putting it also out there on social media. Then we're also posting it on our website, so then individuals can go back to that information when they need to.
That's super helpful. I think everyone has to rethink how they communicate right now.
Yeah, and it's not, you can no longer think that everyone knows what's going on, right? And so it's about communicating, but also reinforcing. So when I did my opening day presentation to the campus, I talked about Compton College 2024, where we're headed, but also I talked about COVID-19. And then my COVID-19 conversation was more so about the COVID-19 budget. So we have CARES Act funding of about $2.5 million. Of that, $2 million are going directly to students. And then we have a couple block grants with the state. So I was able to tell the campus community not only how we communicate what's happening, but also where the resources are being allocated to as relates to COVID-19 and moving forward, and documenting that in the conversation. And then after I did the presentation in my newsletter that night, I provided a link to the presentation to the campus community.
Great.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you could also talk about, as after the last recession, the number of jobs that required a bachelor's degree went up by a great amount, research has shown. And so some are predicting that could happen again with this recession. So could you talk about what four-year institutions should change right now or do better to better support community college students who want to continue their education, transfer, and get a bachelor's degree or more?
So I have my perspective on this. We do a lot of work here at Compton College with California State University, Dominguez Hills, which is our local partner. And so we also receive grant funding from the College Futures Foundation regards to our guided pathways work. And one of the things that I will put out there as we move forward through this recession is we've been working on program maps for each of our academic programs. And the reason why I bring this up is that when we look at our academic programs, students need to see what those maps look like once they complete a particular program at Compton College and transfer to Cal State Dominguez Hills, or even they transfer to another Cal State within the state of California or to historically Black college or university. What does that look like? And from my perspective, as community colleges, we need to be working not only with a four-year partner, but also with a K-12 partner and linking this work to our dual enrollment work. And so a lot of colleges are doing a lot of dual enrollment with the K-12 districts. And so we need to look at how you create these program maps for students who start taking your courses in high school. What does that map look like in high school once they decide to come to Compton College? What does it look like while they're at Compton College, and includes the coursework that they took while they're at high school? And then showing what that coursework looks like at Dominguez Hills once they have transferred from Compton College. That means someone who starts in dual enrollment are able to see that pathway from dual enrollment to that bachelor's degree. And so we really need to start focusing in on these program maps, showing what these program maps look like over 6 to 8 year period. So these students in high school are able to see that, but then you're also able to translate that to the community college, where students are able to see that 2-year map, that 4-year map, and also that 6-year map as well, once they transfer to a 4-year college or university. Students need to be able to see that map and what it looks like, and then we need to be able to be held accountable to ensure that those students are able to complete those maps in the time period that they need. And so I'm really engaged in this conversation regards to guided pathways, but also engaged in the conversation about program maps and ensuring students know what course they need in order to complete their particular major. And then once they know that, you can be able to provide that support services through your support success teams at your colleges, be able to support those students through that, how they make that decision.
That's great. I want to follow up and just, it seems like there's a lot of moving pieces, and I'm wondering if there have been any positive changes, if the crisis is accelerating any good change. It sounds like you've been very fortunate in terms of timing and the investments that have happened in the state of California, but are there any things that you're seeing that you actually think are going to help Compton College or other institutions like yours better serve students in the long run?
Oh yeah, most definitely technology. If you look at what has went through with COVID-19, my whole perspective on technology and what type of technology our students have in their hands and also our employees have changed. So for one thing, we should no longer have desktop computers in our office. Everyone should be able to work from docking station. They can be able to transition from home to work. No more thinking that someone's going to be in their office every single day. You never know what's going to happen. But having that technology changes for our employees, providing more professional development for our employees as it relates to the uses of technology. One of these that we did for our maintenance and operations staff, we have provided them with laptops. So when they weren't on campus, they were able to do some of the professional development through their laptop at home and provide those types of training. But putting technology in our employees' hands is very critical as we move forward. The second piece is students. We now have laptops available for students to be able to use during COVID-19. But also, too, we have Wi-Fi hotspots available for students. We have also shifted regards to food resources. We have a food pantry, but now we're delivering food to students' homes through our partnership with Everytable. We have a partnership we've been working on with Grubhub. Now we're working on another partnership with Uber Eats. So students are able to order their food and get delivered directly to their home. We also have hired a carrier service that's able to deliver laptops to our students' homes. And we've been able to FedEx laptops to students' homes. So we've been able to change things regards to technology and also the food resources as well for our students. Now, one of the things I'm really excited about, we have a new partnership that started with him about housing. We're providing housing grants for our students. And this is going to be very interesting for us as we move forward because we have 23% of our students are homeless and trying to figure out how can we support students regards to housing grants. And so we unveiling this program begins tomorrow, and students were able to sign up for that program as well. So from technology was one, providing technology to our employees, technology to students regards to the Wi-Fi and also regards to laptops, and then also providing food resources for students to be able to deliver food to their homes. We did a study this past spring, regards to the Wi-Fi hotspots and the technology. The students who had Wi-Fi hotspots did better in their English transfer level English course and transfer level math course than their comparison groups. What does that tell you? That was successful because those students were struggling without technology. So we want to make sure that we're having Wi-Fi hotspots available for our students. And so we have a partnership with the Foundation for California Community Colleges, where we purchase hotspots and they mail them to the students who have been approved. So the final piece to this is really looking at our basic needs and coming up with one common application. One of these I've always been concerned about, how many times we have to ask a student if they're poor. So this fall semester, we've said, one application for all of our student resources for fall. That's the laptops, Wi-Fi hotspots, food resources, and also housing grants, CARES Act grants, and also equity emergency grants. All of that is done in one application. Last spring, we sent out multiple applications to our students regards to all these services. Now it's just one application. If you missed, there's no deadline. We just taking them on as is, and we're working through those individuals who have those requests. So that's one of the things that we worked on. We're also working on another piece of this regards to basic needs, is how do you document the basic needs within your enterprise resource planning software. And we've been working with Illusion on a new basic needs screen to be able to document all the basic needs we're providing to students. So the technology piece, the documentation regards to basic needs, and then also food resources.
Wow, that's super impressive. And for any funders, it's fantastic that you have that data, because we know that we need much more flexibility in terms of resource allocation, especially the Wi-Fi hotspot issue was quite difficult earlier. A lot of people didn't have that kind of money. But if that actually has data that shows that students do better, then we absolutely need to fight for more flexibility so that administrators can make those decisions to make sure students have what they need. That's really great.
Yeah, and I would add to this is also, as a CEO, we have to be involved in the budget. So most people know I'm very involved in our budget and our resource allocation, because I'm able to see it from a 30-foot lens where most people are not able to see how these things are connecting. So how do you connect all your categorical dollars to different programs and services to be able to maximize your funding for all your students? When I look at the work that we're doing at Compton College based off of resource allocation, is trying to figure out how can we provide the services to all of our students. We can no longer create boutique programs for 100 students or 200 students. We have to look at how can we provide the services to all of our students. Compton College, 63% of our students are Latinx, 21% of the students are African American. So how are we able to provide support for these students and to be able to work with every single student? And I truly believe the completion by design model and the work that we're doing in guided pathways is the way to go. But we have to think about how you do it for all of our students and understanding that you got to break down these budgets to make sure you maximize these services. So one of the things my staff are doing right now is with these with the resources, the student resources, they're able to identify who's in particular programs, and that program is able to provide them the laptop or the Wi-Fi hotspot. So it's not being used in the CARES Act because that means another student can be served. So really breaking down that data once you have one application. But as we move forward, I would like to see one application for all of our support programs. And that's going to be a little bit of work on my team's part, but that's something that we should be able to set up within the next couple of years.
Great.
Sounds awesome. You talked about this a little bit already, sort of like the luck and how you had so many things set up. But could you talk more about the leadership lessons that you got from things that happened in your past or your background in leading Compton College or in other areas where you've worked, and how that's helping you right now to inform your thinking during this crisis?
So I'll give you two examples. In 2011, when we were going through the last recession, we had to lay off employees at Compton College, and our reserve was about $3 million. And I was looking at other community colleges who have a healthy reserve and were able to maintain their operations through the recession. And so Compton right now, we have a healthy reserve, and we're going to be able to maintain the services we're able to provide to our students, and also regards to the staffing level at our institution. And so one of the things that we've been very intentional about was monitoring our being fiscally responsible and also building a healthy reserve for our institution to be able to work through this recession. And including my last newsletter, I talked about our reserve utilizing $6 million over the next 3 years to be able to support our operations as we go through this recession. And so I think that's important for people to know, is that you have to be financially responsible in this job, but also prepare for a recession. And that's difficult, as you deal with labor negotiations, as you deal with other crises on your campus, is really maintaining a fiscal responsibility and monitoring your budget, because you know that there's going to be some uncertainties in the future, and how you prepare for those uncertainties. And so I've been really focused on the long-term view of our institution financially. Every year we come with a 5-year fiscal management plan to be able to monitor our budget over a 5-year period of where do we see ourselves financially. And we have done that every single year. The second piece was accreditation. And the reason why I bring accreditation up for Compton was that in 2017, we were accredited. But during that process, I know how it feels and to work with the institution that accreditation was revoked. I know how it feels when employees what they were going through, when they didn't understand what was happening based off communication. So that past crisis at Compton, when accreditation was revoked in 2006, I experienced that. And my dissertation talked about that. I looked at the de-accreditation of Compton College and trying to understand what the employees were going through. And one of the major issues was communication. How do you communicate to the employees where it's not based off a rumor mill, it's based off of actual information that's happening from the president's office. And as a president, you have to be the leader to provide that information. And sometimes you can delegate to your staff to put out the information, but the critical pieces for the CEO has to be the leader in the communication and has to put out the communication in a timely manner, because people want to feel safe. They want to feel secure because of finances of the district, and they want to know that their leaders there looking out for them. And I think that's very important for college presidents at this time, to really look at past crises, past experiences, to be how you move forward. And for me, when COVID-19 first hit, I was shell shocked. I was shocked, and I didn't know what to do. But then my internal, going back to 2006, going back to 2011, and going back to my experiences at Compton College, I was like, okay, we weren't accredited. We can get through this, right? Like, we have financial issues, but we can get through this. So going through these past experiences, I felt good knowing that we got through the other issues in prior years. I know we can get through COVID-19, but it's different this time. But I know we can get through. So the past experience has helped me.
That's super helpful. It makes me think about what Michael Sorrell talked about, and that for people who are not used to fighting, you give up too easily, and you really develop that resilience that we're drawing upon right now by past battles that you've had to overcome. And I love that you have really thought through the lessons from your past and you're integrating them at this moment. It is really challenging, I think, just to be a human being, and in this moment, and in particular when we're trying to lead folks, that feeling of scarcity and fear it's very difficult to do your best work and show up every day and give your best for students if you don't feel safe. And I think that's a really important piece for a leader to make sure that you're thinking about. So the one last question I want to ask is, you and I both are getting a chance to try and make some recommendations for the state of California as reopening happens, to try and set the citizens of California up for a more equitable, more sustainable economy in post-COVID. And I'm just wondering if you can share are there any particular policy changes or ideas that you are seeing might need to happen as we reimagine the future of California so that it serves every Californian?
So I'm excited about serving on this task force. The first thing we need to do is look at our educational, our master plan for the state of California, higher education master plan. And the reason why we need to look at it from an equity lens and how we could make changes to the master plan. That's number one. Number two, with community colleges, is really looking at our regulations for community colleges and looking at it from an equitable lens and spending about a year just going through our policies to make sure that our policies are equitable. I would tell you some of our policies in California community colleges contradict each other, right? And so if we already know it contradicts each other, now is the time to fix those policies, but then also looking at it from a different lens as relates to equity and really understanding where do you want to see our students at over the next 5 to 10, 15 to 20 years. And one of the things that I think is important with this task force and the work is to actually come up with some recommendations that are attainable. And I've been a part of different committees throughout my professional career. People need to see attainable goals, and then also need to see that these goals are being monitored. And so one of the things that I want to recommend with the task force is really looking at 3 to 5 years of what we realistically can do. There's going to be some things people want us to that get done, some changes that might take 10 or 15 years to get there. But we're looking at some 3 to 5 years of things that we can actually get done within our system. And the master plan is important. That's one that can actually get done with the equity lens. And then the second piece is really looking at our Title V for us, our regulations for community colleges, really look at those regulations and really looking at it from an equity lens. We have to change the policy that impacts students of color before we're able to do some of this great work. One of the things that we have done at Compton, this is why my background on this, we redid all of our plans, our planning documents. And that provides us with our roadmap for the future. And it started because of the vision for success that the California Community College Chancellor's Office, basically everything had to be tied to the vision for success. So we tied all of our plans at Compton to the vision for success. And we call them Compton College 2024 documents. So these are our planning documents as we move forward as ways to change our institution with a focus on completion. Going through this experience, now working with our managers to make sure our managers' goals are linked to that 2024 has given me a new perspective as it relates to this committee, making sure that we're able to link what the changes will happen to the master plan for higher education, then also linking it to the changes within Title V. And that means it can be systemic and it can happen over a long period, but we have a guide to this roadmap.
That's wonderful. Really wonderful to have this conversation with you, and really appreciate you sharing a bit of your leadership for those of us at home who are trying to figure out how to navigate just even the small teams that we lead. So President Curry, it has been really a delight. Thank you so much for taking the time. Madeline, as always, excellent co-pilot. And for those of you at home, we hope that this has served you and given you a little bit of an opportunity to take a step back and think about what leadership lessons you already have that you could draw upon in this moment, and also to just think about how you can better communicate with your team. I think there were a lot of insights that we could draw from this conversation. So again, thank you all, and we hope you have a wonderful week coming ahead.